So you've got liquor appeals and first lessons besides your mom?
Yes, they had to have some balance to open it, and I just transferred a little bit more money because there was checks out.
Okay.
And I didn't know if he wanted to transfer money into a CD or whatever for that balance, so I just put some money in there.
Okay, so flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, Bob,
You can come and Kale mine. Got kids that playing ball, so.
oh, okay.
He can come and talk to him today.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from last month.
Second. Okay, Caleb.
Okay. Gary, I got you a proposal right there for you. Eleanor, do you still have the copy?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. So I'm Caleb Sheldon. I'm from the Kilmer Group in Wyalusing, PA. What you guys have in front of you is an insurance proposal for the insurance here for the township. A little bit of a background of the Kilmer Group. We've been doing municipality insurance for about 30 years now. We write about 130 municipalities in the state of Pennsylvania. Ranging from, I got one on the New Jersey border, New York border, Ohio border, and West Virginia border, so we're kind of all over the state. We currently write about 130 in the state, and some of the local ones around here that we deal with is Franklin Township, Columbia Township, and some ones around Wyalusing, Albany, Wyalusing, Warren, Rome, so we're kind of got a little bit of a footprint in here. So what I have for you is a proposal. First couple pages, built right into our insurance program. A lot of value-added services we build right into a program for free service, or free of any cost. So the first one I want to kind of mention is on page 4, is a large loss management division that we have. So if there's ever a large loss here at the township, and your insurance carrier won't provide coverage, or they won't provide coverage up to what you think of is, we have this safety net to read through policies, comb through policies, find any additional coverages, find any loopholes into the coverage policy forms, and help find coverage for you. They're successful about 50% of the time of finding coverage for any large losses, so it is a good safety net to have if there ever is a large loss in the township and you kind of need some insurance or anything like that. Another one is on page 6. So we have a risk management firm on retainer, and one of the free services that they offer is an HR helpline. So if you guys ever have any questions about hiring, firing, drug testing, employee benefits, any employee discipline issues, you can call this number. It's a free service we offer, so you don't have to reach out to a labor attorney or solicitor and rack up $150 an hour fee. So it's a free service that we offer. And of course, in our office too, we do some loss control, risk management, training, driver training, defensive driver training. We have all of that capabilities where we can help you guys out with anything like that. We do mock audits, just to make sure everything is good here for the township from an insurance standpoint. Then kind of the nuts and the bolts of the proposal. We'll start on page 8. That's the commercial property. So we added a little bit more coverage than what you currently have from a property standpoint. So you'll see all the buildings and the values and the contents listed there. I know for the new garage under the current policy, I think the value for that is like $500,000. So we increased in that just in case there is ever anything happens to that building. I don't think $500,000 at this time, between the labor costs and materials costs, you can't build that building for $500,000. So we kind of upped that, and we upped some of the other values too. And of course, we did what we did for you. Everything's on a blanket limit for you. So you'll see in that top table, if you add all the building and contents values together, you get a blanket limit of $1.4 million. So it gives you a little bit more of a safety net. Say something happens to this building, we have it listed for $630,000. Say it costs $750,000 to rebuild. You have that blanket limit to give you some additional coverage there too. Yep. And one thing I want to just mention here, your property deductible, you'll see it here listed at 2,500, where your current one's only 500. So there are some differences between the policies, and I'll mention that towards the end too, because I did a company comparison, but I just wanted to mention that. Okay. Next is the the next couple pages, some property extensions that EMC offers. I won't get into the details too much of that. On page 10, you'll see the commercial general liability. So all the same limits here to what you currently have: 1 million per occurrence, 3 million aggregate for the year. One thing that we did add is employee benefits liability. So that would be cover, say you hire the employee, and they're supposed to be on health benefits or life and disability, and for some reason they forget to get added to that. This will protect you if anything were to happen to that employee from a benefit standpoint. So we added that in, 1 million, 3 million, and there is a deductible of 1,000 for that. Okay. Then the next page is just, again, general liability coverage extensions that are added in right into the EMC program. If you have any questions as I'm going through this, go ahead and feel free to stop me. Next is the commercial auto. So you'll see the 4 vehicles here listed. Eleanor did mention that you guys will be getting one in the future. If we do write the insurance, we'll get that added. But you'll see still the same kind of limits of what you currently have. So it's apples to apples, 1 million per for liability. You'll see your deductibles listed there, 500 and 1,000. One coverage that I like that EMC does do a good job of, you see at that first table, you'll see down towards the bottom, employer's non-ownership liability. So it's $1 million liability. So Eleanor, if you ever take your vehicle to run to the bank, post office, anything doing township business, if you get in an accident, will fall back on this policy, not your own personal policy. So that's one thing I like to mention too. Yep. And again, coverage enhancements, the next 2 pages there for the auto. Next, you'll see here all the equipment. On page 15, your commercial inland marine policy. So there's all the equipment that the township owns, and you'll see all the amounts and everything there. $500 deductible. So everything's kind of listed there. Wasn't sure if you're able to go over this, if I missed anything in with the equipment, but it's kind of took your current policy and added and just copied basically from that.
Isn't our wheel loader, was that a 2021?
No, it was an 18.
Was it?
When we bought it, it was used, slightly used.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, and one thing I like to mention too with the inland marine, those amounts, that's something we always tell people to double check from year to year, because depreciation does go into effect for your inland marine. So those pieces of equipment get older, we should probably decrease those values year after year, because they're only going to give you actual cash value for them and not replacement costs. For the equipment, yep. Okay, next you'll see the public officials liability. So this covers the supervisors for any decisions that they make. 1 million per claim, 2 million in aggregate. You see your deductible is 2,500. One thing I like to mention here, where EMC does a really good coverage job, you'll see public officials non-monetary defense limit at $1 million. So we're seeing more of these claims arise. So what a non-monetary defense is, say you guys, for instance, you say pass a resolution that there's no more natural gas drilling within the township. Your township residents would probably be very upset about that. So they'll sue you just to reverse that decision. So they're not looking for any monetary damages. So it's a non-monetary claim. With EMC, you have up to $1 million for that coverage. Where selective, you only have $10,000. And $10,000 can be eaten up pretty quick between court fees, lawyer fees, and all that. So that's one thing I'd like to mention. Okay. The next is your umbrella, which you currently have a $3 million umbrella over top of your general liability, your commercial auto, employer's liability, which is part B of workers' compensation, employee benefits liability, and your public official. So basically, go off your public officials, you have $1 million per claim. If you ever get a claim that's over $1 million, this umbrella will kick in to provide you an additional $3 million. And you'll see on the next page is your workers' compensation, which we have the payroll exposure. Obviously with workers' comp, the premium's based off of the rate times the payroll for the 2 class codes for your township workers and your clerical employees. Then on the next, you will see commercial crime and your cyber. Yep, so we added a little bit more crime for employee theft, dishonesty, 500,000. Then you'll see your cyber of $50,000. We match that up to what you currently have with Selective for your cyber liability. Then on page 21, the next page, you'll see the premium summary of your expiring with Selective. You'll see we quoted you with EMC and AmTrust. AmTrust is our work comp, who we quoted you with, and you'll see the premium amounts there. Then down below, actually on the next page for you, Gary, is a company coverage comparison where there are some differences between the two carriers. Like I mentioned, the blanket for the property, EMC offers a little bit more, but obviously the deductible is a little bit higher with EMC. Inflation guard with EMC, it's a 4% inflation guard, so as the year goes on, those building values keep up with inflation throughout the year. Then you'll see the general aggregate, the general liability, the differences there. Inland marine, there's a little bit of differences between the unscheduled equipment limits. Your cyber, your deductibles lower with EMC, but Selective does offer a higher cyber extortion limit. Then of course the public officials, you'll see down below some of the difference between them. And of course, I don't know if Mark mentioned it to you, EMC does have a very good dividend program. So how we work with that is we're part of Keystone Insurance Group, so we have about 50 partners in the state of Pennsylvania. So we pull all of our EMC premium together. If the program performs well, where there's not losses for the entire program, instead of EMC pocketing that money, they give it back through a dividend. And I think it's 13 out of the last 17 years. It's been 6 years straight now. So they're not guaranteed, but the program is doing a very good overall.
Columbia said they got something the last 3 years.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and I want to say, so the last 5 years, it's been an average, I think it's right around 18% of your premium that you pay into EMC. That's what we're seeing back from a dividend standpoint. Any questions for me?
No.
And I've mentioned this to Mark as I've discussed with him. We also do right with Selective. So if you want to kind of go with our agency, that's something that we can do. We can provide you something like this every single year, comparing shop that you guys are out. Because we feel like at least every 3 to 4 years, your insurance should be shopped out. And we have about 5 carriers that can look at it, and we can offer you all those carriers. That way you're keeping the marketplace a little competitive, where you're not just renewing year after year. You're kind of being proactive and kind of looking at different options.
We were in a lawsuit, so
yeah,
we did try to
do that. Yep.
And they're like, how about you wait until
wait
until that is settled.
Those lawsuits, they can hurt you. But yeah, we suggest at least every 3 to 4 years. We do have some townships and boroughs that like to do it every year, and that's something we can perform right in-house for you. And we'll provide you the premium summary with all the different carriers as well as the company comparison. That way the township can make a good decision where someone might be $500 cheaper or $500 more, but they offer a little bit better coverages. Yep.
And then for the workman's comp, they do like an audit or something.
Yep.
And then the premium will be adjusted.
It affected, however, yep. All of our carriers do a work comp audit. Yep. And we've noticed here too, as those work comp carriers, as they do their audits, I've actually had to dispute about half a dozen this year because they're hiring third-party auditors, and the information that they're getting is bad, and they're upcharging. Where if there's anything like that, we'll dispute it for you and revise it for you. Okay. Yep. Okay.
Because like doing the budget, can't really tell like overtime and things like
that. Yeah, you're just
getting.
You might have a winter where you get 4 feet of snow, and you have to pay an overtime for snow removal and stuff like that, where you might have a mild winter like we did here this last year. Yep. You're kind of just shooting a shot in the dark when you're estimating that stuff for the year.
Good guesstimates.
Yep.
What was the cyber cover?
So cyber is kind of, we're seeing, it'll cover you from like if Eleanor is working on her computer and there's a ransom attack, extortion threat. I know Troy Borough here a couple years ago, their system got hacked, and they basically the hackers held them for ransom, and they said, you have to pay us $10,000 or we're gonna release all this public information or we're going to delete everything. So cyber is kind of, we're seeing more of those claims. Hackers are kind of on the hunt for like smaller municipalities to kind of transfer monies out of bank accounts and stuff like that. So that's what the cyber will do for you. And we're offering it to everyone. And if you like it, if you want to keep it, go ahead. And if you don't,
Do they have to implement any policies in order to have that in effect, like backup policies or?
no, it's kind of basically, is the biggest thing for them, as long as you have passwords on your computers, you can get a cyber policy.
Everything is password protected.
Everyone, yep. There are some carriers out there where they require multi-factor authorization. You need to have weekly backups of all your logs and stuff like that. But with EMC and Selected, they both don't require any of that.
No, I back up regularly. It's the button that decided to break.
Yeah. Yep. And kind of another thing with the cyber, we had a township near State College in Center County. The secretary was working on her computer and someone was controlling her mouse and they were trying to log into their bank accounts, and that's another part of the cyber we're protected if anything happens like that. Yeah, it's getting pretty sophisticated what these, really since COVID hit, we've seen these hackers do crazy things. Yep.
And a lot more time on their hands.
Yeah. Yep. Sitting in front of a computer, coming up with ways to
It's always playing catch up. Like,
right.
I mean, doesn't matter how much firewall protection or whatever
Yep.
you have. It's always something.
I tell people if
playing
they can break into, was the Keystone Pipeline here last year where they shut the entire, or it wasn't was it Colonial Pipeline? They shut down the whole pipeline for 3 days. If they can do, if an hacker can do that to someone big like that, they can hack into everything. Yep. So if there's no more questions, I'll go tag in Steve, and once he's done, if you have any other further questions or you'd like to ask me, I'll be right outside.
The only question I have is that we've already renewed because the renewal was the 17th.
Yep.
So if we decide to go with you, then it's the 24,000 up front, and then we get reimbursed. Or
so yeah, it'll be
Okay.
prorated. Yep, that's how that would work. Yep.
Okay.
Yep, and I already talked to, really the only, if you want to go with EMC, the only thing I need is, I brought letters here just saying that there's been no claims here the last 2 weeks. So it's a no known loss letter, it's called. And I just need a signature on that, then EMC will be good to go ahead. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot, Caleb.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks.
Hi guys. Yeah, I put together a summary like I've done in the past, so you might have it. So I've known Eleanor and Gary for quite a few years, but again, Mark, I'm Steve Sumner from Gannon's, and I've handled the township business for 32 years at Gannon's. I started in 1991, so that's what I do. It runs May 17th, 2023 to 2024, so we're a couple weeks into the policy. If these pages are numbered, so the first couple pages just tell you a little bit about Gannon's, but if you go to page 4, I just want you to know that at Gannon's we have a service team. If there's any changes to be made, Eleanor typically would call Gail, but I'm always available as well. So we work as a team. Gail has a ton of experience, and Eleanor, you've stopped in the office in Troy quite a bit. So again, that's our service team. Page 5, it lists the property. We did send an inspector out, and Eleanor and I conversed about the new garage, and our inspector came up around $497,000. So we settled on $500,000, and they did raise the contents and the building limits 4% this year for inflation. So you can see my total blanket limit is over $1 million. Everything's on replacement valuation. But do you guys have any questions on the property? Any concerns there?
No.
Pavilions, computer equipments are automatically covered with Selective. Page 6 is, we have some crime coverage and we have cyber liability. I've had 2 claims with cyber, but they involved boroughs where they got in through the police servers and they stole the data, and we were able to get the data back, and we hired the IT people to come in. One was on the front page of the paper. That was Troy Borough, and the other one was Sarah Borough. So we've had a couple attacks. I haven't seen it for a township your size. We can go higher limits. This is what we have with the program. Any questions on page 6? Page 7 is the equipment floater for equipment that moves around. I wanted to mention with Selective, it is replacement cost for things that are within the last 5 years. So the backhoe, the excavator, and the grader, you'll see the limits we have down on those. Also want to mention, if you ever lease something, you have automatic coverage up to $100,000. Eleanor, if you ever lease something more than that, you should call us. Okay. And then I have blanket coverage of $5,000. So plows, anything under $5,000, you don't even need to call me. It's automatically protected. See where it says blanket? So you have automatic coverage. Is there any questions on page 7?
Is there a yearly cap to that?
No, it's any one item. It's $5,000 any one item. So
you can only use it once a year?
No. It's any one item in
Okay.
occurrence. It's reoccurring.
Okay.
Now, we can go higher, and I have it in here. But what's nice about it is if you have smaller items, we don't need to schedule plows and things. I can go higher. In the old days, we had to schedule every single item to have coverage. Page 8 is liability. Very important coverage. All your operations with the grader, excavator, equipment, all your land, trip and falls. If you're sued for negligence, meaning someone got hurt and they sue you, we defend you and we hire the defense costs, and you have these limits plus a $3 million umbrella. All right, so in my 32 years, I've had a death claim. So it doesn't get any worse than a death claim. And that was in Towanda Borough. So I've seen it all. I've seen graders injure people. I've seen trip and falls. So this is extremely important coverage. When there's litigation and you're sued, they're going to name the supervisors on the lawsuit. It'll say in your official capacity. And it'll say, Mark, Gary and Eleanor. Your name will be on the lawsuit. So I know you volunteer your time, so you deserve good liability coverage. You know, Caleb probably told you he represents Selective. So he has township insured with Selective. So he's been at presentations tonight recommending Selective. So I imagine he didn't say anything too bad about Selective. Selective, I think, is the best, especially for litigation. If you're sued, your name's on the lawsuit. So you're as additional insured. Employees are additional insured. So an employee on that grader that causes that bodily injury, he or she's included. Okay, volunteers are included. I think you probably know, I insure the borough, I insure the authority, I insure Troy Township, I insure Troy Borough. I mean, it's what I do. But this page is extremely important to you guys.
Out of curiosity,
Yep.
if a settlement is offered and your guys think that it's a good settlement, does the township have to take it?
That's an excellent question. Excellent question. The way your homeowners would work is you have to do it. Okay, you have to go with the settlement. With this, on the public official, you have a consent to settle. It's never happened to me in 32 years. But let's just say there's a public official claim and the insurance company wants to settle it and you say no.
Yep.
Okay. They'll keep defending you, but they'll pay all that defense costs, but the highest they'll pay is up to that what they had settled for. So
if it goes another $2 million, they're on the hook for.
Well, yeah,
settlement.
And again, I think Gary knows.
Number.
Yeah, Gary knows Mr. Gannon. We're extremely close with Selective. I haven't seen one in 32 years where it wasn't accepted by both parties. I'll say another thing. In 32 years, I haven't seen one case go to a jury trial. So you are right, they settle them. In 32 years, not one case has gone to a jury trial in my career. So they end up settling. The death claim, they settle it because, a jury...
Well, they basically have to, because if they don't, they're on the hook.
Well, no, it would go to a jury trial, and if they're found innocent, then
Right.
they're out it. But are you going to take that chance in a death claim when a father and a son got killed? So I've never seen it go to trial. I've seen a ton of lawsuits. Delmar Township, in the lawsuit, a supervisor called a tax collector what do they call it down south? Flatlander. I mean, I've seen it all. So,
Well, we call people from down south.
yeah, but it was in the lawsuit. So, again, I can't emphasize how important it is, your liability coverage. And EMC is a good company. I'm not going to say a bad word about EMC. I think this is stronger. Page 9 is your public officials. So that's if you're sued for your errors and omissions. And your umbrella goes over this. Now, the defense costs are in addition to this. So if you're sued, this doesn't eat into these limits. See that, Mark? You have $1 million and a $3 million umbrella. If the lawyer's fees are $250,000, it doesn't lower your limits. Okay, that's good. It's all in addition to the limits. Page 10 is the auto. You have $1 million coverage there. And do the vehicles look up to date? Okay. Employees are included as additional insureds even if they jump in their own vehicle, if it's on township business. So if you're in the F600, the employee they're at fault, there's an accident, we insure the employee, we insure the township, and we insure the supervisors. If the employee is in their own vehicle during the course of employment, over let's say you're with State Farm, you have another $4 million of coverage. And I talked to Gary and Mark and Eleanor about this, elected officials are included too. So we have employees and the supervisors. If it's during your duties as an employee or supervisor, you have $4 million. want to make that clear with employees as well. Your umbrella, you'll see on page 11, is $3 million above it. Page 12 is your workers' compensation. That's based on estimated payroll.
The state rate, isn't it?
No, workers' compensation rates do vary carrier to carrier. So if Caleb, in fairness to Caleb, you don't want him using a higher payroll. That's not fair to him. So you want to check to make sure you use the same payroll. Likewise, if he used a lower payroll, it's not fair to me. No, all rates are different. So he might have a slightly different premium.
Used to be state rate.
It used, well, Gary, you and I go back quite a bit. I mean, it is, you can have credit structures where it can change. So every insurance company applies to the state. The state fund's the same, but you're not with the state fund. I've seen a lot of work comp claims. That is when an employee's hurt during employment, it picks up their medical, and if they're out long enough, it picks up their 2/3 of their wages. So the premium summary, I think it's really flat from last year. You know, whether you have another agent, I'm always trying to do the best for you. That's the premium. I think you know, you're not obligated by law to accept the lowest if I'm not the lowest. You can pick a higher bid. That's by law. We don't have the solicitor here today then, right?
No.
I have the solicitor added as an additional insured on this policy. So part of the application, I want you to know he's protected when he or she's working. Who is it?
Caldwell.
Yeah, okay. We protect the solicitor with the selective program. It's part of your application. So you're not obligated to take the low bid like maybe a grader, because insurance is considered a professional in service. Insurance is a legal contract. So you can't quote apples for apples. It's just, I think it's the best. That young man earlier tonight is a gentleman. You saw the way we talked. I'm not going to say a bad word about the young man. I just would say to you, he has townships insured with selective. So, I don't have that issue because I don't represent EMC until recently because we bought another agency. So I would love to keep you guys. I think if you're sued, I think being 60 years old with my experience, I'm telling you, I'd fight for you from a liability standpoint. I can't believe I'm that old, but I am.
Me too.
Class of 82?
81.
81. All right. I flunked kindergarten. So, I put all the extensions, so I could spend another hour on them, but these come with, EMC would have extensions. These are selective extensions. So, well, we're into it a couple weeks, so I'd love to have you stay with us for the next year, but, I appreciate you putting me on the agenda. And I hope I didn't talk too long for everybody here. So.
Oh, think about it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And Eleanor, thanks for your help on the applications.
Sure.
So. Mark, nice seeing you again.
Yep.
We'll see you, Gary.
Yep.
Thank you.
See you. Thanks for your questions. Thanks, I appreciate it.
Tax corrector report.
Yes,
For April taxes, $496.50.
that was additional,
Additional.
yes.
And for May, $5,245.92.
Okay. No solicitor report. You want to go over the funds you got here?
So when we opened the accounts at First Citizens, they needed to have deposits. So don't know what we really want to do with everything, so I just pulled some money out of Citizens of Northern and deposited it into First Citizens. So of the 235,000 in Chemung Canal, 109 of that is the CARES money that was never pulled out and put into the impact CD where the other funds are, because we were opening accounts instead of transferring, so we just kept it there. We have a little over $71,860 in an equipment balance for state fund. So with the 109,000 that we have in the CD and Chemung Canal, we can buy the truck without too much problems, because that's what the money was kind of earmarked for anyway. And then that should still, because you said something about the coal patch, which we'll get to, but the pricing of that, so we should have enough money to do everything.
Well, I figured here that, on this festival here, that their lessons been a little bit. So I guess that's what they're going with.
The Vestal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now here's what Frank figured out. We still want to do the 500 ton, or want to cut back to 400 ton, or what?
What is it gonna be? How much is it gonna be?
The Vestal is 39,000, it's $36, something like that.
And this is,
39,360. Vestal is 41,000. That's the figures you gave me.
Midland.
Or Midland.
So Midland was 41,000 and
Yeah.
Vestal's 39?
Yeah.
Doesn't Vestal have a better quality of oil that we found?
We
Or-
can get polymer from Vestal. That's the better oil. I have to keep quoting the price of that. Let's see.
It's non-polymer, but
But that's what we used in the past and it's held up
We
better than
used the
what was.
polymer before, I don't know if we did last year or not. We didn't make any last year, did we?
I don't think so, but I think we had a lot
We had
enough
some
left over.
So we have to pull our state liquid fuels out of CNN, put it in First Citizen.
Yes,
Everything's gotta be there.
yes.
Okay.
The only thing that they're allowing us to keep in Citizens of Northern at this time is the CDs, because we would lose money for early withdrawal penalty.
Yeah.
And the rates aren't enough to get it back for what the penalties would be. So they said that we could keep the CDs until they come due and then transfer them in. And then I do have the signature pages for the sinking fund, which Caldwell suggested of putting all of the money to pay the payments into, and then they can take it out of, right out of there. So that would be just kind of like a whole account.
Okay. So this is what Frank figured out. But Bob says we got enough 1B. He thinks we do. But Frank had this figured out. So we may not leave off 1B. That lowers the stone cost some.
Well, the coal patch and the stabilized gravel keeps, right?
Yeah,
no.
probably
If we got the
a
money-
year.
No, if we got the money, we might as well do it.
Yeah, they need some places.
Yeah, well, look what happened to our road there when we were hauling north.
I already told PennDOT today that we're gonna do sealing your road. And just about use all the oil we got.
So sealing in McMurray's for the agility. Double
Yeah.
seal or single seal?
I think it's single. Yeah, I don't think it's double. I'm sure it's not. It's single. So 1B, he's got 10,400 figured on that. That's there's a lower a savings there, 10,400. So it won't cost as much as you thought it would. Well, no, 1B is 6,600. He's got the total and a skid with it. So 6,600 be the 1Bs we don't need. So I'll make the motion we go ahead and have Frank start bringing in the stone.
I'll second it.
I'll get a hold of Dustin. I gotta order Dustin anyhow, so I'll tell him.
Yeah, that brings up another question. Glory barn. When are they gonna put oil on that?
That's the next load.
I was over at Atlantis was planting corn. I could see all this big cloud of dust, and I thought, what in the heck is that? I got to looking, and there was just tractor and a wagon, two of them going down the road. And I went down. I took the corn planter down the right.
That won't last very long on that, those tractors traveling on it.
I don't know what else to do.
Because we'll probably hit it again later.
You know.
And you did the first coat on Rhodes Road, and
I did that.
did you get an estimate or how much the second by Robero's were gonna be?
I can't tell we put it on.
Okay.
I don't think I have a price for the oil yet. I think he said 2.25, but he said, I think I'd do better. Well, that's all I heard. I gotta call him.
Okay.
Okay, special. So when's this supposed to be done?
Well, we need 10 days to advertise, so we can pass the ordinance again. I don't know, you got the email that, Independent Sentinel made the mistake about the, date. So we have to, re-advertise so we can pass the ordinance.
So it won't be
So
this
by
week?
letter,
Too late for this week.
right, so if I let her know tomorrow, then, I mean, she can advertise in the Daily Review. She doesn't necessarily have to do the Canton Sentinel. Depending on the timing of everything.
We'll put it in the
Or-
Daily Review then. Forget the Sentinel.
Well, to time it out, if we do it the Canton paper, it would be for the 12th, so it would advertise on the 14th and 15th. So it has to be 10 days. We could do it at the July meeting. That's the 3rd, right? We're still having a meeting on the 3rd. So it can just be here for a regular meeting. We don't technically have to have a special meeting. But if we want to do it sooner than that, we put it in the Daily Review by Thursday.
Does Caldwell have to be here? Is he gonna have to be here? Will he?
Yeah.
It's the same paperwork that we had to do before.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, with it being 4th of July, is
You might not be around.
he might be
Right.
closed that day or something. I don't know.
I don't know
we
what their
better,
schedule is. But,
do it
Um,
quicker.
but if we do the Daily Review, it could advertise by Thursday. 10 days would be the 18th, 19th. We could have it to 19th and 20th of June. Get it done.
19th or 20th.
What's that?
No, have it the 19th or 20th of June.
Yes.
Either one, the other, huh?
Yeah. Or sometime that week, as long as it's advertised 10 days.
Well, you want to try it, which one, the
I don't care.
19th is all right.
Okay.
As long as I don't forget. Michelle, you have to call and remind me. Nope, not going.
So whatever fits better with his schedule, the 19th or 20th, and, because we're fine with either.
Or that week, whatever,
Whatever.
whenever he can be here, I guess.
Okay. Because it's probably gonna be about an hour. We're
That's
just
the
signing
week
the same papers that we already signed.
of the Canton Fair.
What is? 19th?
Start the 20th.
Well, you can be here for a little bit and then go right to the fair. So.
Or no,
Or
start-
go to the fair.
No, start at the 20th, does it?
Yeah.
Tuesday night?
Yep.
So 19th is good.
So when I got the update today that the new computer setup will hopefully be here on Wednesday, so we'll be able to install and have everything up and running by the end of the week. Which is, as long as it's time for payroll, then we're good, and then I'll get checks out before that, or wait to the special meeting, whatever you guys decide. You hold them anyway, so it doesn't matter, does it?
I was going to the bank Wednesday, but now I don't have a check to take.
You have five other ones.
I always wait for that sixth one.
Well, hopefully I can have it for you on Friday or Saturday.
So what else do you have?
That's it. For me.
Guess we covered all this other stuff.
With that.
What's the Highmark Health Insurance questionnaire?
Oh, they send me a questionnaire every year
All right.
about who's on the policy, what needs to be done, and all that other thing.
No, well, two separate ones here.
Yes, I couldn't go in and reconcile, so I just printed out the statements of what was paid. I mean, nothing's been paid out of Chemont Canal. I'm still trying to get Birkenheimer changed over. And once that happens, I can close Chemont Canal.
I've had one issue since I had Brooks Kleppner do payroll. Unbelievable.
Well, if everything's set up and I can get in there to push the buttons,
Not a problem, right?
everything's fine.
Yeah.
It's getting into pushing buttons. It started where it didn't want to open the internet, like Microsoft Word or Edge or whatever. So I'm like, okay, I'll shut you down, put you in the corner, and I'll come back to you. Because, I'm not going to touch you. Well, I went to touch him and to boot it back up, and it was like, we can't find anything. What? So yeah.
So the hard drive had crashed?
Yeah.
The actual drive?
10-year-old computer machine, so I mean, updated here and there to keep the bugs away or whatever. But I mean, it's the original machine that I purchased when I started, so
Has that been 10 years?
it's been 10 years.
Wow. It's hard to believe. Time flies when you're having fun.
Yep.
Well, it's been 23 years since I've been, in May 1st of 2000 when I started.
I started in 2012 and elected in 2016, so
Well, you know, anything else?
I don't got anything else.
I declare the meeting adjourned.
Oh, do you want to wait until the second lilac bush is purchased for monies, or?
That's
do you want-
fine.
Okay.
Yep.
What about the insurance? We're gonna talk about that at another meeting or?
Yeah.
Well,